dit normaal?
Cloud that could cool the Earth. It's called solar geoengineering, and it's highly controversial.
How long will it be that countries keep experiencing these climate impacts before someone gets desperate and says, hey, we need to cool the planet with solar geoengineering?
It would look something like this. Thousands of planes would fly very high and use nozzles to inject millions of tons of light-reflecting particles into the stratosphere. It would create a thin chemical cloud of those particles around the whole planet, blocking some sunlight from reaching the surface. It would mimic a giant volcanic eruption, which we know cools the Earth.
All the responsible scientists say this is something that we deploy if we had to, alongside all the other stuff that we already have to do.
The U.S. Academies of Sciences is holding a series of meetings to study solar geoengineering, including one at Stanford this month. The committee will issue a report next year with recommendations for how, or if, solar geoengineering research should continue. Some scientists say the research is necessary in order to arm future generations with the ability to enact this backup plan, even though it seems nearly impossible now.
We ought to start working on this solar climate engineering problem right now with as much urgency as we can, so that if we want to deploy it in a decade or so, we understand what we have to do.
This is a real moral horror.
Of the Power Hour. Just a little tongue-in-cheek stuff going on there.
Was all about, sir.
I spent a couple days making talking points to make a guide map of how to present this to you. It is such a big topic. He asked me to help work with him on the story. My country is being destroyed right in front of my eyes, and the people are being hurt, deciding a course. And he concluded his speech to them with, I know not what course others may choose, but as for me, give me liberty or give me death. And I think
Were taking place on this aerosol clouding or aerosol dispersion or whatever you want to call it, and I had him go to the person who we knew was in charge at that base at that time, and he did in fact confirm.
De andere kant, waar is de blauwe hemel gebleven, de blauwe lucht?
To the air armed with hydroscopic flares filled with a mixture of potassium chloride, sodium chloride, magnesium, and other materials. It's essentially salt. When the plane reaches the right clouds, the pilots release the flares.
These salt
cloud seeding operations. The government is confident the operations are increased. Is also invested in rain research, offering millions of dollars in grant money to innovative researchers and projects.
You know, they were talking about climate change yesterday, and now we're learning that scientists and researchers are looking at how to change the weather on purpose. That's right. Lasers now could one day manipulate rain and lightning. CBS This Morning contributor Michio Kaku is a physics professor at City College of New York. Professor, nice to see you.
Storms act like seeds, like dust particles, bringing down rain and even lightning. Go ahead.
Well, this fascinates me in part because, too, I remember reading the stories that China had used this during the Olympics, that the USSR had used this after Chernobyl to create rain clouds. I mean, did those really work then? We have some of these capabilities now?
Inconclusive. Even in the 60s, the CIA used this to bring down monsoons during the Vietnam War, to wash out the Viet Cong. Actually using trillion-watt lasers now. And in the
to go and check out the array, and there are trailers all throughout here, and they have one of them open so we can see what they're doing inside. This place is creepy looking, I'll tell you that.
It's totally something out of a science fiction movie.
I'm still feeling like I have more questions than answers.
Yeah, we need to go inside and listen to one of the lectures.
Yeah. Basically, these trailers house the power that powers up these towers when they send signals out to the atmosphere and back. That's basically all we know so far.
They've scienced the shit out of it.
No kidding.
So these
and that's what a lot of engineers and scientists do. If you've got an idea, boy, it sounds good. First thing you do is get a patent, right? So Bernard got those patents for mind control. weather modification, power beaming, right? So he went, he got all these patents out there, and nobody read that or cared about that, right? Until this facility was starting to be built. The first story came out in Popular Mechanics, and I think it was in 1992. And they showed, whatever, a HARP facility blowing up a Volkswagen 200 miles away. So they had all this conspiracy stuff in that early one. So there really wasn't much out there. But as we went through 3 different build-outs to get to where we are now.
Well, these engines are basically pumping water vapor into the atmosphere. After about an hour, this water vapor will eventually fall back down as rain.
Shooting high-pressure water into a modified MiG-21 jet engine. This mixes with chemical compounds to create a high-temperature mixture of gas and steam. This gas blows away radioactive particles and destroys infectious agents. A creative solution. But maybe this technology will develop over time.
En un área de 90.000 metros cuadrados en Jicamarca se ubica uno de los radares más importantes del mundo, que ayudó a conquistar el espacio y que hoy permite entender el buen funcionamiento del GPS, entre otras cosas.
En este momento es un fenómeno en la ionosfera que está perturbando las señales y que está generando este error.